This video is about the Nameless monster, or the devil himself, or the next Adolf Hitler, or we can also call him the greatest written antagonist of all time. But really, what makes Johan Liebert the greatest written anime antagonist or anime villain of all time? One thing that makes Johan really special as an antagonist is that he is just human. Now, Johan isn't born a king, or he doesn't possess any power, he cannot fly, anything. He is just human, or we can say that he is normal human. He is a man living in a society, a very good and respectable man that you would admire, that you would talk to, you would trust him with everything, and you would tell him everything personal about yourself, and so on. You would just greatly admire him, and you would trust him with your life. And so that was how Johan's personality was. Now, this respectable man showed the people a side. There were two sides to Johan, a respectable man one, and the other was cold, dark, the sadist one. On the good side, he would make people think that he is helping them. People would think that Johan is their idol, he is their role model, that he was so intelligent, so classy, his personality was so charismatic. This is how cleverly he would show to the people who he was. The good man, the good side, or the hidden side. Now it is known that whenever Satan comes to you, he would look really pretty. He would give you everything you could ever imagine and ever dream of. He would make you the happiest person ever, and he would pretend to be your helper, your savior, your messiah. And when the time is right, he would take away your soul. Now, this little paraphrase is exactly how you would describe a Johan Liebert. Now, he might not possess some magical powers, a robot, or flight, or anything, but there are some qualities that Johan has, some of which are voice imitation. He could easily imitate many voices, female, male, anything. He had mentalism, which is basically an art in which you could describe a person's past just by taking a look at them. Hypnosis, Johan Liebert knew how to hypnotize. He could mind read, mind reading is a real thing, and he possessed something like that. He was a master criminal mind, he was a master gambler, and he was master in disguise. He could disguise anyone and no one would doubt it. So he was master in that too. He was a master orienter. He would orient some of the biggest, most well planned missions, and he would just succeed in it. He had a very beautiful way of giving speech. He was very charismatic. He was one of the best speaker. He spoke as well as Adolf Hitler or Charles Manson, who resembled him, whose characteristics resembles of that of Johan's. Now, you may have seen some of the scenes in which Johan just talks to someone and he makes them kill themselves. That's how good Johan was in whatever he did. Can you imagine talking to someone and make them kill themselves? Now, his weapon was his vocal cords. Now, Johan Liebert's vocal cords are definitely in the list of most powerful weapons in all of anime, no joke. Now, let's take a look at Johan's dark side, his beliefs and his philosophy. Now, Johan is a nihilist. What does a nihilist mean? A nihilist is someone who believes life is utterly meaningless. There is no point of life. And he who rejects all moral principles and all religion. It is he who thinks to himself that what is the purpose of my life? What is the impact of my life? Does it change anything? What is the impact of other life? What is the purpose of other people's life? It is nothing. It is just death. Yeah, the death is the only thing that we are all equal in. Finally, we are all gonna die. So, what is? Why live? What is the meaning of living? The weight of our lives may be different, the weight of other people's lives may also differ, but the main thing, the spoiler, the main thing about life is that we all die. The only thing humans are equal, or every creature are equal in, is death. It is the ultimate atonement, whether you are a good person or a bad person, whether you are a sinner, whether you are a priest, whether you are a preacher, whether you are evil, whether you are a con man, whether you are a good cop, bad cop, a thief with morals, a bad thief, good thief. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are, a king, a slave, a person who was born with everything, born with the world in his hand, or a person who was insignificant throughout whole his life. It doesn't matter. You, in the end, will die. And your purpose serves nothing. You and other people serve no purpose at all. Why? Because in the end, we're all gonna die. There is no meaning whatsoever of the gift of life. Now, this is what he thought of, and this is what he represented throughout the entire anime. Now, we have talked about Johan's two sides, good one and a bad one. We have talked about his personality, his traits, and his philosophy. Now, let's talk about what makes him a monster, the nameless monster.
Once upon a time, in a land far away, there lived a nameless monster. The monster was dying to have a name. So the monster made up his mind and set out on a journey to look for one. But the world was such a very large place. The monster split in two and went on separate journeys. One went east, the other headed west. The one who went east came upon a village. There was a blacksmith who lived at the village's entrance. "Mr. Blacksmith, please give me your name," said the monster. "I can't give you my name," replied the blacksmith. "If you give me your name, I'll go inside you and make you strong," said the monster. "Really?" said the blacksmith. "If you make me stronger, I'll give you my name." The monster went into the blacksmith. And so, the monster became Otto the blacksmith. Otto was the strongest man in town. But then one day he said, "Look at me, look at me. The monster inside of me is getting bigger." Munch, munch, chomp, chomp, gobble, gobble, gulp. The hungry monster ate up Otto from the inside out. Once again, he was a monster without a name. The monster next went to a castle to look for a nice name. he came upon a very sick boy who lived in that castle. "If you give me your name, I'll make you strong," said the monster. The boy replied, "If you can make me healthy and strong, I will give you my name." So the monster jumped right into the boy. And the boy became full of vigor. The king was overjoyed. He announced, "The prince is healthy. The prince is strong." The monster became quite fond of the boy's name. He was also quite pleased with his royal life in the castle. So he controlled himself no matter how ravenous his appetite became. Day after day, despite his growing hunger, the monster stayed put inside the boy. But finally, the hunger just became too great. "Look at me, look at me," said the boy. "The monster inside of me has gotten this big." The boy devoured the king and all his servants. Munch, munch, chomp, chomp, gobble, gobble, go. The castle was lonely now with everyone gone, so the boy left on a journey. He walked and walked for days. And then one day, the boy came upon a monster who had gone west. "I have a name," said the boy, "and it's such a wonderful one at that." But the monster who went west replied, "Who needs a name? I'm perfectly happy without one." After all, that's what we are, nameless monsters. The boy ate up the monster who went west. At last he had found a name, but there was no longer anyone to call him by it. Such a shame, because Johan was such a wonderful name.
It is a story that Johan read when he was in the basement. And that story of the nameless monster is what Johan's whole life was. Everyone who knew the nameless monster died. And finally, there remains no one who knew who the monster was. There was no one who could call him by his name. Such the name was Johan. This is the story that Johan read in his early life. So now let's talk about his early life. As described by Johan himself, I was born in a town that was straight out of a fairy tale. Many people died there, and when I walked away, I held hands with my other self. To me, it seemed like we were the only two people in the world. Neither one of us possessed a real name. Just like in the story, when the monster, nameless monster, which has two sides, he finally eats his other side also. So Johan and his twin sister Anna were born as the result of a eugenesis experiment. Now, what does eugenesis mean? It is a set of beliefs and practices that aim to improve the genetic quality of a human population. Now, as it might seem, let me tell you something about this in simpler words. It is the exclusion or execution or persecution of people who are considered to be inferior. Yeah, those people who are considered to be inferior are killed, and those who are selected to be special are actually kept and they are promoted. So this was the experiment which happened on Johan and Anna. And also know that this experiment is totally genetic and also look-wise too, based on how you look. So that means if you're not pretty, then you're just thrown out, or I can also say killed. The primary goal of which was to create a child who had not only an exceptional level of high intelligence and a flawless appearance, but who could also lead the human race. So, yeah, Johan was actually created or destined to rule the human race, whatever you wanna put it, the way you want. After Johan's mother, Vera Serna, is released from the confinement, she and the twins move into the Three Frogs building. Yeah, the one building that is shown in the anime next to Sidig Bridge in Prague. Serena dresses both of the children as identical twins, girls, to make it appear as though she had a single child rather than twins. The family lives a very quiet and peaceful life, and most of the neighbors hardly take any notice of them. So, in 1981, Franz Bonaparte, yeah, this guy again, the one who created all this, the one who actually created the Nameless monster, who actually wrote the Nameless monster and created Johan Liebert, and then assistant Peter Kappe appear before the family to inform that one of them will take part in the Red Rose Mansion will be taken for the experimentation. The others will stay at home. Bonaparte stated that the situation such that Serna is the one who has to make the decision of which twin to give away. At first, she hands over Johan, but quickly changes his mind and gives up Anna instead. It is unknown whether or not she is aware which is Johan and which is Anna. The event impacts Johan for the rest of his life, leaving him to question whether his mother was trying to protect him or had him confused for Anna. And that's the story, that's the past of Johan. So after that, Anna and Johan's mother are both taken away, and Johan stays at the Three Frog by himself alone. He spends the time reading The Nameless Monster. So when Anna escapes from the Red Rose Mansion and returns to the Three Frogs, Johan asks her to describe how the experiment was like. Eventually, Johan confuses the information relayed by his sister for his own experiences and comes to believe that he was the one who suffered through the events at Red Rose Mansion. An individual visits and informs the twins that they will have to live on their own. Johan and Anna then burn down the Three Frogs and run away, directionless and no particular destination in mind. Later, the twins meet a middle-aged couple who give them sandwiches and contemporarily talking them into their cares. While playing in a field of grass in front of the couple, Johan tells Anna that he has a plan to kill their new caretakers and subsequently wander directionless once again. On their journey, Johan and Anna in time pass out from exhaustion in the mountains by the sieged German border. A patrol officer named Helmut Wolf rescues them from the near-death experience. He looks in Johan's bag and he finds out only one thing: a copy of the Nameless monster. He decides to name the boy Johan after the monster in the book. So that's how Johan got his name. And give the girl twin the name Anna. He sends them to two separate orphanages. Anna to a place called Orphanage 47 and Johan to Kinderheim 511, where, the story and the chaos and the monster happens.